In the studio today, we're going to talk a little bit about being safe, as we did yesterday with the with the Rice County Sheriff and the Chief of Police. We talked a bit about roads and lake safety, so I thought it'd be cool, Dusty, if we could get you in today to talk about fire safety this Labor Day weekend, campfires and that sort of thing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, certainly appreciate it. You got any plans for the weekend?
Nothing major, no. No.
Do you normally go away or do any camping on Labor Day weekend?
Haven't for a long time. We'll do stuff around here, but no trips away.
Yeah, I know you recently went on a fishing trip, right, up north?
Oh, we did, yes.
How'd that go?
It was very good. We got some pretty extreme weather conditions to deal with, but fishing was good.
And speaking of that, there is a chance of some storms on Sunday, I understand.
Yeah, as we all know, living here long enough, when you have humidity and weather like we're having the last few days, it's going to break sooner or later, and typically it could come with some storms. So just want to, make sure you keep your eye to the sky, listen to KDHL, make sure you're signed up for the Everbridge notification. So if severe weather does approach, you have adequate warning to take shelter.
Now that Everbridge notification is not just for severe weather though, right?
It is not. It is for all kinds of different notifications, from Amber Alerts to snow emergencies, which don't have to worry about this weekend, and crime alerts it's been used for in the past. So it's a very flexible system. We're actually migrating to a new platform on that. So if you're signed up now, you'll automatically get transferred over, but it's going to become a little more user friendly, where you can have actually blackout periods if you don't want to be notified of these things. So we've had some issues in the past with, I don't want to hear about a flood watch when I live on a hill at 4 in the morning. Don't wake me up for that. So you can actually go back into your account and click on, I think there's 100 or 150 different weather things that you can click on that you want to be notified, and you can also pick blackout times when you don't want to be notified. That is all good stuff, but Everbridge has built into the system that even if you don't want to be notified while you're sleeping, if it's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, you don't have that opt-out for obvious reasons. Those you need to know about.
So will it still be Everbridge?
It's still Everbridge. It's just technology moving forward and offering some new stuff. The other great benefit that's coming with it is right now, if today we had severe weather, the dispatch center is the person or the people, or a third-party person, if you will, has to put the warning notification out. So say dispatch has to do it, but of course when there's weather coming and there's things going on, they're very busy on the phones. So sometimes that gets put on the back burner because it has to, and now the warning doesn't go out. The new Everbridge, if you will have an automatic link right from the National Weather Service. So as soon as that goes out, it'll go to your Everbridge notification to your phone or however you're getting notified, and it'll cut out that middle person, and it'll be earlier warning, which we all know is key.
Yeah, so the millisecond that the National Weather Service issues the warning, although you can issue a warning too without contacting the Weather Service, right?
We can, and Jennifer Howard, there's a handful of people in the county that can put out Everbridge notifications too from our computer, but typically we all rely on the National Weather Service, and they always give you the heads up. Even in the morning, they have a pretty good idea what's going to happen during the day. Maybe not pinpointed to the minute, but pretty close.
Any idea what the sign-up percentage is?
No, that's something that we've asked for, because that's the hard part about Everbridge, is that you have to opt in. I mean, you're not automatically in and opt out. We have to get the word out there to get you to sign up. So we really don't have a good feel for how many people in Rice and Steele are signed up. So we just keep on pushing it, and you can go on the county, Rice County, Steele County, City of Faribault websites, and there's areas you can go and get signed up on.
I just dropped my calendar. We'll discuss more about fire safety when AM Minnesota continues. Campfire safety. I want to go over some of the rules on burning. Should note, speaking of Owatonna, tonight the Faribault Falcons travel to Owatonna in high school football action. Big rivalry game. We'll have it for you on Power 96 Radio. I'll be in Owatonna beginning about 6:45 tonight. here on KDHL, we'll have the Bethlehem Academy game against Kenyon Wanamingo. I don't recall them ever playing in football in the 28 years I've been here. So that's kind of interesting. And Roy Koenig will have that call over at Bruce Smith Field. You got some guys in football, Dusty?
I do. Yep, my oldest son plays for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
My youngest is, well, he's a Cardinal, but he's a young Cardinal.
Right. He's a young Cardinal.
Yep.
As opposed to a,
old Cardinal.
well, relatively speaking.
Yes.
But they're looking pretty good, aren't they, the Cardinals? I know we're here to talk about Fires.
Yeah. Yeah, they're having a lot of fun practicing these last few days in this weather.
Oh, I'll bet. It's been blistering. I was over at that volleyball match earlier this week with Lakeville North. Franz Bolter said in the 30, however many years he's been at BA, he's never seen so much water in the basement.
Yeah, we were doing, we had pasta night there last night for the day before a game, all the players, so I was helping out with that, and we were down in the kitchen, and it was toasty.
So I inquired with the superintendent, Mr. Donlin, what it would cost to air condition that. And he said it really isn't cost prohibitive, $120,000. And so I told him that our local fire chief would just write him out a check. No, I'm just,
Thanks, Gordy.
just kidding. But it really, that isn't cost prohibitive. Speaking of that, the council has approved I was at a meeting over at the fire hall here, what was it, a month or so ago, and they talked about improvements to your facility, and it
Correct.
sounds like they're going to go forward with that.
Yeah, we're still moving forward with that. It's still in the planning stages. It's still at the architects. I believe we have a meeting Wednesday with them to go over code things. We have a layout of what we want the footprint of that building to look like, where offices and different things will be moved to. Now we have to make sure that all fits with building codes, and we'll put sprinkler system in there, so getting that all those little details worked out. So hopefully December, January we can start tearing into it.
Well, it does seem kind of ridiculous that you don't have a fire hall with a sprinkler system.
Well, it was built in '67.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it's good that when you're going to upgrade it, you should put in a sprinkler system.
Oh yeah, that was not a question that even needed to be asked. That's going to happen.
Well, when did those come in, the sprinkler systems?
Well, they've been around quite a while, just not then.
Right, because, I have a picture on our website. The cornerstone, if I remember right, says 1896. Is that right?
1887 I think it's 87 from the building that is the old fire station that was where the LEC is now, the Rice County, right across, straight north of the fire station. Yep, and then there's the stone there from when this one was built in '67. So that was the last time anything was done to that building when they built it. There's been only firefighter upgrades since then, like paint and carpet and little stuff like that.
And you have sort of an L shape on the building, right? I mean, you could actually close that little corner. That's not part of the plan, I know.
No, we're not adding on anything to the building.
But that could be done in the future.
In the future, I believe the building could be added on to, or it is my thought that when the town decides to pick a direction to grow a little bit more than another direction, that someday there will have to be another station just because of distance. So most cities around, they get to a certain size and it's time for another station just to keep response times down.
Right. Well, that was going to be my next question. You read my mind, because I remember when Mike Monge was the fire chief, there was talk about adding a station on the east side.
Yeah, because there's some trouble sometimes there's some challenges to get to the east side.
Well,
so
the viaduct was under construction for a while.
Yeah,
right?
and it could have a train going down a ravine, so you're limited on your access to that side. So that would be one reason for doing that. This fire station that we have right now is a very good building, very well built. It's really dead center of Faribault and has been for a long time, because Faribault is kind of equally grown in all different directions.
Yep.
So there's really not an area that jumps out that needs another station. We're still small enough where we can get anywhere we need to in a real quick time.
What's the ideal? 3 minutes? I mean, what's the ideal time?
Yeah, you'd like to, there's so many variables. There's really not traffic, road conditions, where you are when the call comes in, what you're doing when the call comes in, if it's a medical where you don't need to get turnout gear on, or if it's a fire they have to get dressed, there's another minute there to get dressed. So the sooner the better in all kinds of emergencies, as we know, whether they're fires or medicals or crashes. The sooner you can get there and start addressing the problem, the better.
The fact that we have a professional fire department here in Faribault, a lot of communities have all volunteer fire departments. That helps us in terms of our insurance, doesn't it?
Yeah, it helps in the ISO rating, which is what insurance companies use. And it does help in that, but really where the main help is that you get instant response from somebody, whether it's a heart attack or a fire burning. We all know that the sooner you can address the problem and start to mitigate that, the better you are.
And I don't know how many years ago, but the majority of your calls for the last couple decades anyway have been medical calls, right?
Yeah, that's a nationwide trend where with education and building codes and building materials that fires are trending downwards and medicals are, well, the baby boomers are coming around and our population ages. There's more and more stress on the medical portion of our service. So yeah, we do a lot of medical runs along with North Ambulance, and it's a very good service, and people are important to us, and we want to make sure that we take care of them when in their time of need.
And it seems to me that you get called out to help the police department quite often too.
Yeah, there's some things that we can do. There's resources, tools, things that we have that the police officers don't have, whether it's generators, lights, some different kind of entry tools. The lockbox system that we have in the city of Faribault, so we don't have to break down doors. We can do it the civilized way with a key and open it up and not wreck anything. So yeah, we like to help out in any shape or form that we can.
I think, weren't you called out during the incident earlier this week where the guy was holed up in the house?
Yeah, we're there. We help with traffic while we're there, but we're really there, in case someone gets hurt, a law enforcement official or the people in the home. So yeah, we like to be able to help in any shape or form, and we rarely or ever say no when somebody calls for assistance.
Well, the sad reality is, and the July 4th weekend, we had a drowning here in
Correct.
Rice County, and I know Sheriff Dunn said yesterday we really don't want to repeat that this Labor Day weekend, so people need to be safe on area lakes.
Yeah, this is one of the big last hurrah, if you will, for the summer, and gets a lot of people outdoors. Now, I like to think that, because summer has been going on for a couple months, that it wouldn't be the first time that people are doing some of the things they may do this weekend. So hopefully they have a good system down. But it's really in the decisions that you make, and that's really what we want to dwell on, is making good decisions. And we know that there's some things that we all do once in a while that make our decision making skewed once in a while, whether it's being around a bunch of friends and wanting to do things you normally wouldn't do, or having alcohol on board. It can mess with your decision making process. So we want to just make sure that we still want you to have fun, but we want you to make good decisions, and if you see someone that you think is not making a good decision, to intervene to try to avoid a tragedy.
I'm just going to take a wild guess here. I'm thinking we're going to have quite a bit of pressure on our area lakes because the weather, is going to be steamy, right?
Yeah, it's going to be warm. It doesn't look like it's going to be, I was out at Roberts Lake this morning for a work-related issue, and it's beautiful out there. There's a little bit of breeze. The water looks really nice. It would be nice to be out there. So yeah, I believe that there's going to be a lot of people on the lakes.
Going to be doing some fishing.
Fishing, or just running around, or cruising.
Yep, having a good time. And that's one of the things we're blessed with here in the Faribault area. I think
Yep.
The sheriff said yesterday 23 lakes in the county.
Yeah, we want you to enjoy them. We just want you to do it safely. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher on your boat. Make sure you have your life jackets. If you need to wear them, have them on. If you don't have to wear them because of the law, make sure they're accessible. Inside of a cabinet in a boat is not going to help you when you need it. It's not going to be floating around on the water. So make sure that they are somewhere that you can access them.
It doesn't make sense just to put it on.
It does. That's the best, but we know reality will say that most people are just going to have them nearby adults. And I think it's if you're 10 and under, you have to wear it.
And it has to be accessible otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I know even on my boat I have them strapped on my seat. Well, if that boat tips over, or I fall out of that boat and that's strapped on that seat, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good. So you have to be thinking about those things, and you're never ready when that happens, when you fall out, or So having them on is the best plan.
Yeah, certainly hope not. The sheriff yesterday showed me a picture. They pulled some logs out. Now I can't remember which lake it was. They
I'm
pulled
not sure.
some logs out of a lake here locally. I thought maybe some of your guys were involved in that. They had some divers involved. I knew you had some divers on your department, right?
Yeah, they were probably doing some training, I would guess, and they had a. Oh yeah, that might have been out on Cannon where they had some issues with some.
Some boats were hitting these.
Yeah, yep. So there's things going on in lakes, and they change every week because we're not always out there to watch and see what people do and what they can find in varying water levels. Of course, we're blessed this year. We have high water levels, so rocks that are normally buried underwater and can't grab your lower unit are deep enough yet, but you still have to be careful.
You know what else is awesome these days, and I think we talked about this earlier this year, you're involved in doing some work on GPS mapping of area lakes, right?
Yes, yep. Yeah, that was it was pretty neat to see that process of how they come up with lake chips and how they find the depths of that. Really it's not a real scientific. You just grid out a map and you drive it with your boat and your depth finder, and it records the information, and a computer draws a map.
And so, Sunday we're going to have every single lake.
Yeah, and the lake I was helping out with, they were 1 foot contours, so very detailed, very, what's going on underneath there. What you don't know is the things that have changed, what have been put in the lakes, and here again, if the water is at the same level as when we mapped it,
sure,
it's going to be a different depth.
Absolutely. But still, I would think it would assist you in recovery efforts of a drowning victim or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, if we have a last known sighting of where they went, we can use those. We have used private boats in the past, and because the systems that are on fishing boats are very detailed and have the depth, we know what we're dealing with, whether it's, it's a big difference if it's 5 feet of water compared to 25 feet of water, and how we deal with finding what we're looking for.
Right. Faribault Fire Chief Dusty Dienst is in studio today. This weekend, if you are out doing any camping, make sure you put out those fires, right?
Yeah, right now everything is moist and green, and so we don't have a huge wildfire problem right now or concern. It's more of a safety concern for the people around the fire. So the rules to qualify as a recreational fire or campfire is 3 by 3 by 3, so 3 feet wide, 3 feet. Well, you'd be 3 feet in diameter because most of them are not going to be square; they're round.
Sure.
And not more than 3 feet tall. So you don't want a raging inferno going there, and most campfires are not that. But it is, the intention is to keep that to be the small fire pit that a bunch of people sit around and just talk. If it's any more than that, then you need a permit.
And I'm sure you've gone on calls before of people getting burned in these.
Oh yeah, people, and here again it's decision making, and it's doing goofing around or horseplay around these fires, and it happens, but they never turn out well. You don't fall into a fire and get out quick enough before it hurts you, so you got to be very careful.
What are the rules concerning burning permits?
Well, I think it's a year or two ago that the permits have changed, that we went to a state system, but the state system does not cover municipalities. So within the city of Faribault, you still get a burning permit from the fire department. Outside of the city limits, you can still get them from the fire department or from township officials, or even I believe there might be a couple deputies or the sheriff's office that can give those out. But it's a pretty good system. I give the state credit that they went to a system that is actually easier for people to use. You get you really have to make a visit one time. You get a sheet of paper, and like myself or whomever is handing out the permit, we'll go over some of the rules, help you fill out the piece of paper, and then on the piece of paper is a 1-800 number, or it might even be a 1-888 toll-free number. Call the state every day that you're going to have a fire, so that activates that permit for that day. But it's the same piece of paper for the whole year, so you only have to come in once, and you can do it online. But you call in, they give you an activation number, so if somebody calls with a complaint, we go out, you show us our permit, here's the activation number for the day. It's good for a 24-hour period, or it's good, I shouldn't say it, it's good till midnight of that day that you call it in. So if you call it in at 8 in the morning, it's good till midnight, or if you call it in at 10 at night, it's only good for a couple hours till midnight. Then you have to do it again the next day, and you can call in as many times as you need to throughout the year just to activate, and you get a new number every time you call in.
And if it gets windy, obviously, you might want to rethink your burn.
Yeah, with any fire, whether it's legal or illegal, but we'll talk about the legal ones because that's what we're promoting. Campfires or even a fire with a permit, if it's bothering your neighbors and it's a hindrance because of smoke, or if smoke's going in somebody's house, so that's impacting their quality of life, we'll come out. They'll probably call, and the law enforcement and or the fire department will come out, and if it is bothering neighbors, legal or not, you have to put it out.
Period.
Period. Yep.
That's the bottom line. I would assume they still, the burning barrels used in the country, right?
Yeah, we've had that discussion before. There's controversy on that. It is technically illegal in the state of Minnesota to burn garbage in a burning barrel.
Again, period.
Period. I believe the only exception to that is if there isn't garbage pickup, which is, I don't know that there's very many places in the world anymore,
yeah,
or at least around here, there's not the ability to have someone come get your garbage. So I know it goes on, and here again, we can't run around and go after, law enforcement can't keep up with going after all those things, so it still does go on, and it's not that they're a fire hazard or unsafe, although I've been to plenty of grass fires that have started, because of the burning barrel and the wind coming up and the ashes coming out. But it's a pollution. We've all smelt it before. You're not supposed to burn your garbage.
About leaves?
Leaves don't burn, is what I like to say, but they do not burn. Leaves smoke. So in the city of Faribault, because we have a compost pile down at the wastewater treatment plant.
Every fall you'll smell them burning.
Yeah, well, you can't burn your own leaves in your yard, because here again, all they're going to do is smoke, and someone's going to call. Because we have that down there, you have to take leaves down there. You can burn sticks and that kind of stuff that you pick up in your yard. In a recreational fire, you can only burn what is called clean wood. So you're talking about it's even borderline illegal to burn boards that you have left over from something. Now we're not going to splice those hairs. If you have throw some 2x4s in there or something, that's not so bad. But really, it's supposed to be firewood and branches and things. So when it comes to yard cleanup, really the only thing that you can burn in a recreational fire, or even in a large brush pile fire, is branches and sticks, brush.
A lot of people have these small fire pits. They like to sit around the fire in their backyards. Any kind of permitting process required for that?
No? Nope. You'll notice that most of those are, unless they're custom made, they meet that 3-foot rule, and that's a city of Faribault rule, but that's also a state rule. That's where we got it from. We didn't make that up ourselves.
I'm sure you get a few calls about it though.
We get some complaints on some smoke once in a while, but really now, I know it was kind of a hot topic here in town here a month or so ago. Heard of people wanting to ban them altogether because of the carbon footprint that they deal with. But we don't, for the amount of fires I believe that are out there, especially over the weekends and in the evenings, we don't get a lot of complaints. People, neighbors thankfully are maybe more friendly to their neighbors, and I know I had someone call the other day asking the same very question, and I told them, if the smoke's bothering the neighbors, then you may have to put it out. And then that person told me, well, the neighbors are going to be with us.
Yeah.
Then end of story. You won't be bothering them. So, it is nice to sit around a fire. Most of us will admit that, and it's fun to sit there and watch and chit chat, and it's kind of a centerpiece there for your picnic table or your picnic where you're sitting around it.
Roast a few marshmallows.
Yeah.
Have some s'mores or.
So, we encourage that. Just, you got to be careful and make good decisions with the fire.
Anything I didn't think of bringing up that I probably should have? October, of course, is Fire Prevention Month, so I'm sure we'll have you on before then again to talk about fire prevention, but I need to replace my smoke detectors in my home because they're pretty old.
Yep, if they still are saying 10 years, but they're kind of backing down even 7 to 10 years on smoke detectors. If you typically what I find is if you don't know how old your smoke detectors are, they're probably way older than you ever would have thought they were.
Right, they still work. Does that make a difference? Should I still replace them? I mean, I still test them and they go off.
Yeah, you know, the test button will still work, but for peace of mind, they're not real expensive and they're good to have. And you don't know, that test button says that the thing still makes noise. Whether the sensor that senses the smoke is working, you don't know until smoke gets in there. So
You light a lighter?
no, don't do that. I mean, and they do have some smoke that you can buy in a can to do that. But by the time you do that, you're better off just getting new smoke detectors. If you have any doubt in your mind about the quality or you're not feeling comfortable with your smoke detector, just put up a new one.
And if I remember right, you recommend the best kind is to have it wired, right?
Yeah, if possible. You know, that's can be a big undertaking in a home that doesn't already have wired smoke detectors, but having them interconnected is very important.
All right. So folks, and you can get those anywhere, the local hardware store.
Correct.
So check that out. Hey, thanks for coming in, Dusty. I appreciate you. You had one other
I
thing.
got one more thing, if you will. Next week, I believe, is 9/11.
Yes, it is.
So
Next Friday.
every year since that happened in '01, we've had a memorial at the fire station. We do it right at 7:45, so you're welcome to come up.
That's when the first plane hit the tower, right?
Yep, so around 7:30 we all gather around the flag out front and we have a little ceremony. This year Troy Dunn's going to do a speech, and it lasts 5 or 10 minutes at the most.
Well, with Troy it may be 15 or 20. No,
I'm glad
just kidding.
I'm glad you said it.
Troy, I hope you didn't hear that.
But we do a flag lowering and then raise a half staff for the day. So we've done that every year since, and we're doing it again this year. And last year we started we do a second one later on. Last year was Roosevelt Elementary School, and this year we're doing another one at 8:45, I believe, at Lincoln School.
Well, it's good that those kids, you know, because they weren't around when that happened.
Yeah, and that's our point, is to, you know, we do a little speech and make sure they understand what went on that day and why we still remember and have the memorials that we have.
Yes, it's such a tragedy. All right, that concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota.